frog in my throat, Chi Time, your conscious living show with me, Clara Apollo, here on Chi Time TV on YouTube. If you're not subscribed already, do press that button, because then I can let you know who's coming up next and what else we've got coming through. But anyway, those of you that are watching live, hello and welcome. On replay, lovely to have you along as well. These conversations are all based around the energy, the natural life force energy that animates all of us, and discussions to help raise our awareness and have these conscious conversations with some fun and some humor as well. Let's not take ourselves too seriously, but maybe, you know, a little bit of lightness here and there, and then dive into the profundity of the very miracle of our existence. And on this episode, I have for you a barefoot sister, that's what I'm calling her. Dr. Sarah Luczaj is with us. She's just produced this stunning book called The Chi Book, The Reiki from the Roots. And she is a person-centered counselor, a Reiki master and inventor of the creative regeneration process. And Sarah is also the co-founder of the Terraluma Healing Refuge. And she is here with us on Chi Time. So welcome to the show, Sarah.
Wonderful to be here, Clara. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So yeah, we, as I say, we are barefoot sisters, aren't we? I think this is
we are, yeah.
We have met through that camp, and if you're listening to this on UK Health Radio, you will have already heard his Get Here track, because I think that was the one that I was wanting to bring in. So Stephen Russelll is I can't talk about him in the past tense because sadly he lost his physical form back in January, but he still feels really present. Does he feel really present for you, Sarah?
He does indeed, yeah. I just hear him saying it was careless of him to lose his physical form. He was just kind of moving too fast. So it flew off by accident. Yes, he's very present. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I get the feeling that we chat a lot, and he appears sometimes during healings to kind of give me a little boost.
No, he does. And when he first went, I mean, there was, such a shock for all of us because it was so sudden, and to sort of manage that shock, that physical shock of, a dear friend and mentor and teacher, and then just going, whoa, but his teachings are so cosmic and so otherworldly that, we are not just this physical form. And I don't know about you, but not long after he died, that expansion into the connection with him, it seemed to get more.
Yes. I find the teachings became actually more present and kind of easier to access, maybe even actually without the physical form.
That's a very interesting point. Easier to access without him, because they're like standalone. So he's a Taoist master. That was his in essence. I mean, lots of ways in. I mean, I'm loving this book of his, which is The Man Who Drove with His Eyes Closed, which will give you a lot of information about all the people that he worked with in his life. And that reminds us all, it's not just one thing that we're doing here on the planet. There's all sorts of streams and weaves that we're bringing in to make our own. So how did you get into Reiki then? What's your journey with that then, Sarah?
And what you're saying about the various streams and ways coming together was very much why I wrote this particular book. Yeah, because Reiki was a stream that started for me. I keep saying 20 years ago, but it's actually probably 30 years ago. In my 20s, I kind of stumbled into it. I did Reiki levels 1 and 2 down in Glastonbury, and then I just completely forgot all about it. I forgot I'd ever done it for many years, and then it came back in my life kind of spontaneously and in a different way. Also kind of brought on by my various other kind of practices, Buddhist meditation and the Taoist influence, the practices that I got from Stephen mainly, and just my own life, what my own life threw up, and it just kind of refreshed the Reiki really. That's a kind of very simple and direct way of getting at that life force.
I mean it is it's part of us. I mean, I did my Reiki training when I was doing my Qigong, elemental Qigong training, which is when I found Barefoot Doctor's observer columns, and I found that the wisdom that he was writing about from the Taoist perspective really also anchored, grounded and connected the other teachings. And I've just got this thing about like, it's this, even though we've got different threads, there's this one commonality there's that chi that connects us all, or ki, or qi, however you pronounce it. Actually, it's a bit like the Tao that can be named is not the real Tao. It's like the chi that can be named, not the real chi.
Yeah,
do you
I
find
think
that?
it's not even that it connects us, but it is us, right?
It is us. Cool.
It is. So yeah, so good luck with getting away from it.
Yeah, really.
I feel, you can call it what you like, and you can build various systems, but I think maybe even the systems are coming from a different place than the actual chi itself, which just is.
Yeah. So what was your inspiration to write this?
So the inspiration was really kind of feeling that this that access, a kind of clear, simple access to that kind of to the power, or because it is us anyway, but it doesn't mean that we can always kind of express it in a kind of direct way, because I think it gets blocked an awful lot by all kinds of different traumas and mental systems and pressures and emotions and this, that, and the other. So because the times at the moment feel to be so kind of intense, I think it's a time when the healing and the chi is needed directly. People need direct, simple kind of access to it. So when I discovered really that the actual Reiki system was such a kind of completely like organic, intuitive thing for the guy that founded it, I thought, well, rather than kind of everyone kind of waiting until they've done all these courses and got all the certificates, and until we gain a lot of knowledge about one path, maybe we don't actually need to do this. Maybe everyone actually has various streams and experiences in their own life that they can put together in order to access that chi and heal themselves and other people. And so I realized that I'd kind of done that, and I felt duty bound really to express that experience in some kind of simple way, hoping that it would have a knock-on effect on other people.
Yeah, and it has. I mean, I'm nearly all the way through this, and it's been filling in so many of the gaps in my curiosity, having been, working or playing with the energy for many years. And it's like, well, it was called Dr. Mikao Usui, but was he actually a doctor or not? We don't know. And then he had all these different weaves and streams that he was investigating for himself. And then it was like, he didn't have any symbols or whatever. But anyway, before we get into that, I'm just going to read a passage from, it's like page 17 from this book, the Chi book, Reiki from the Roots by Dr. Sarah Luczaj. And this is when you say, while I initially intended this book to be exclusively about the Reiki system, during its writing, my dear friend, colleague, teacher, and co-founder of Wayward Publication, which the book is published by, Stephen Russelll, otherwise known as the Barefoot Doctor, somewhat absurdly died. By which I don't mean he died in any particularly strange way. To the contrary, he died in his sleep. But the very fact that a man who so intensely embodied aliveness in every way, and who made it his life's work to do so and to spread the delight in aliveness virus, should die at the age of 65 rather than, let's say, 165, would have been a more appropriate absurdity. But this had a profound effect, not only on my writing style in the last paragraph anyway, but on the essence of your book. So, because Stephen did not have a lot of time for the contemporary Western movement, a Reiki movement as a whole, and expressed the hope that I would discreetly infer that in this book, that the notion of becoming enlightened in a weekend was frankly ridiculous. He himself had learnt healing by a process of absorption from masters who had honed their respective skills over decades, rather than acquiring certificates chosen and purchased from the marketplace. Very good point. Well made, everybody. So we already have this healing capability within us. And yes, to hone a discipline, to tune into it, and to be around other people that are doing similar frequencies work, I think it is important. But when you start looking at a Reiki master being some sort of guru as somebody who's better than you, then I think you're getting into dodgy territory. What do you think?
Yeah, well, of course, yes. I mean, yes, anything that the Reiki master has is, an ability to plug into the same energy that you have. Yeah, you are seeing yourself in them. You're activating the chi, just through the medium of them. It's nothing about that particular form in itself. I was reading actually there's a version of Mikao Usui's original Reiki manual that it's not really known whether he gave it to his students or whether it was just afterwards, but there's a kind of literal translation of it that I found, the references in the book, and I just read it this morning. And he said, I've never been given this method by anybody nor studied to get psychic power to heal. I accidentally realized that I have received healing power when I felt the air in a mysterious way during fasting. So I have a hard time explaining exactly, even if I am the founder.
Oh, that is great. I felt the air. This is getting into the whole Qi thing and this connection with the Qigong and Reiki. And didn't Mikao Usui, the founder of Western Reiki at the moment, he was said to have done Kiko, which is a form of Japanese Qigong, and that part of the Reiki training has movements with it. They don't call them Qigong, but they so are.
Yeah. Yes, the Hatsuri Ho, connecting and bringing the energy down and holding the energy in the belly, and the Tantien or the Hara, and breathing it out. Yes, it's all
Qigong, because it's all one practice, all energy work. So this is where we get semantics in the way. The words get in the way of what's really happening, and that people that have a sense of healing energy, and they just know that when they place their hands on somebody, they feel better. It comes from love, doesn't it?
Yes.
Love energy. You care that much. You just want to help. And that you are become a channel for the energy to come through you from the earth and from the heavens, is what I kind of, alchemize the energy between the earth and the heavens through the heart energy of love into that person. It's them that is calling it through you.
Yes. Yes. Well, I think that just happens when you get out of the way. And I don't think you necessarily have to feel that you're caring very much, but if you're just out of the way with your own ego, anger, worry, and all the things which the Reiki precepts kind of deal with. Yeah, if you're not worrying, you're not being angry, you're being humble, you're working in the right way, and you're being generally compassionate towards yourself and others, then it will come through. I don't think you need to feel any particular kind of caring. It also doesn't need to come through the hands. It was another thing that that really struck me when I read this kind of original manual from Usui's work, that he spoke about the eyes, the mouth, or the hands. It comes out of both, so you can just look at someone and the healing can flow if you're not standing in the way of it.
So you've got hold of an original manual then?
It's on the internet. It's it's by Richard Rivard on his Reiki Ascension site. Yeah, the reference is on the book. Yeah.
So you've got references in the back of the book. So did you do a lot of research, because you have a PhD, you are a researcher. So what was the research like for this book? Because it feels to me like it was so experiential for you. Is it a combination of both?
Yeah. It was very, very sparsely researched. I just really kind of, the people who had researched it properly, just presented themselves to me, and I just took off the top, the bits which I already knew, if you like. I wouldn't even say they resonated. It was just, that's it. So I presented that. But the book is very much more about my own life, really, and my synthesis of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of, as I was reading it, the pennies were dropping. It's like, oh yeah, there's another piece of that makes sense. It's like you were writing or speaking about some areas that had gaps in the trainings and that need to be spoken. I mean, let's not take away from the fact that doing Reiki training is a very beautiful experience for people, and it often begins you on the spiritual journey, and at the moment, with so much confusion and illness and worry in the world, coming into your Reiki practice is one of those steadying places to drop yourself in for self-healing, but then also to be able to do something for others that are. So do you feel that the call for the Chi warriors are being called together, because now is the time for us to really work with our best frequencies for the greater good of all?
Absolutely, yes. And I think it's about dropping into the place where there's actually no difference between self and others, rather than kind of being self-care and then extending to others. And I think I mean, everything is kind of I say warriors because I think we have to kind of fight for access to the kind of normal life energy, what should be normal, with all the kind of scatteredness and dissociation and addiction that's about, at this moment.
Yeah,
in time.
That is interesting. You said that there's no differentiation between ourselves and others. But very often people who are Reiki healers, they will take care of other people more than they will take care of themselves. So
sometimes that's an easier way to go about it.
But the thing is, if you're not taking care of yourself, you'll bring Reiki through for others, then it will come through to you first. So that your channel needs to be clear and connected and self-kinded.
Yeah.
And then you're in a position to get out of the way and let the energy come through you. And so do you do any particular preparation work when you're doing your sessions?
Well, I do the Hatsuri Ho, they're just bringing it down, bringing it into my hara, or dantian, the belly kind of area, just consciousness of the breath and the energy. And I also do the kind of shifting my energy backwards in the Taoist sense. And yeah, if I'm really going with that, then I'll do a bit of flying backwards before I start. Yeah,
it's so important. And Barefoot Stephen used to go on about this all the time.
Yeah.
Be in the back of you, get out of your own way, and while you're in the back of you, drop back even further. And then you're saying, actually, why don't you fly back? And it's it is it's actually a total rejuvenation process as well, that when you come into the backwards rolling motion and you just drop back. I think you also drop back into the support of your ancestors, your guides, your angels, or so it's not just you. We just happen to be here on the planet at the time with the physical body. So yeah.
Yes, but we are also carrying all that and indistinguishable from all that. There's not a point where we stop and the ancestors start. It's
very, very good.
It's all there, and I think been feeling kind of chopped off from ancestors and the whole of human history. It's a cause of real distress right now. That's that underlying kind of disconnection and dissociation. Really from who we really are. That is spurring me on at the moment to kind of come out a bit more with this stuff.
That's right. As you were saying that, I felt this stream, this connective stream to the ancestors behind us. That all of us are moving in streams and flow is the natural healing state. Flow is where we are at our best, and it's the stagnancies that cause disease. But as we move through the world, we create eddies and flows, and we can't see them because we're at now moment to now moment to now moment. But that flow is also behind us and supporting us. Is our natural way, as I say. So as Stephen used to say,
there's much more of it behind us, really.
Much more of it behind us. Exactly. Yeah. Now, when I first had both Stephen on Chi Time TV, which you can check on the Chi Time TV YouTube channel, I have Dr. Sarah Luczaj with me here at the moment. But when Barefoot Stephen was on, we was one of the first ones to TV we did to video. Was about music and medicine, how it's so important to work with healing frequencies and to make them yourself, but also let them come in. And I know that this is another big component of what you are doing. So why? Let's talk. Why is sound so important in the healing process, Sarah?
Well, because I mean, like Chi again, sound. we are sound, right? Sound is, we are sound frequencies. We're made up of that. So it's fundamental. It's primordial. Yes, and yeah, this was the thing which really made the Reiki kind of piece fall into place for me again when I rediscovered it. 20 or 30 years later, was finding out that initially there were those symbols, but there were chanted sounds for each of the versions of the energy, because although the Chi is one, it has kind of 4 kind of distinct flavors in the Reiki system, and each one of them actually has in Japanese it's called the kotodama. It's a word spirit which corresponds to a particular kind of energy. So we have the earth one, we have the sky one, the connection, the kind of state of being of connection, and then the final one was very similar to the state in Mahayana Buddhism, that state of complete bliss, basically, of realizing that form and emptiness are one. So these are expressed best through sound, through chanting. So so the students would actually chant one of these kotadhammas, like mantras, basically, for 6 to 9 months before moving on to the next one, to kind of really have it organically in the system, to be like literally attuned, like a tuning fork to that particular kind of aspect of the energy, that form of it, that version. Yeah, and chanting has been very important to me as well, also in a Buddhist sense, and and learning to sing also, I talk about in the book, turned out to be a kind of Taoist practice for me. Turned out my singing teacher was, telling me all the same things, basically, She didn't call it the microcosmic orbit, but, you bring your breath up the front and up the back and down the front, and you resonate in these 3 chambers, the belly or the heart or the head, it's all the same system. It's just a human system. But it's really actually quite hard to get back to it now.
But it's these the universal laws, or the omniversal laws of truth. This is when you notice these common denominators between all energy healing practices, there we go. And using sound is such a focusing act, and it's so it's not about whether you can sing in tune. That gets right out of the way. It's how you reverberate the energy through you, and how that vibration affects you, and the harmonics that comes, whatever. Anyway, but you have developed this, haven't you, with your musical partner?
And yes, we're also making actual musical versions of each one of those 4 kotadhamma at the moment. With me chanting, and the music also kind of coming forward to support that, also in a quite intuitive kind of way, which then gets run through all the forms, and done very, very technically.
Well, you can do that, but you bring through. And so when you do healing with people, do you make sounds, and is that part of the healing process for you, or is it a personal
Sometimes it is, and
thing?
sometimes it isn't. I just kind of go with the flow, really. Some people, like me to do that, some people don't. I ask people whether I like it to be, if they're present with me in the room, that is. I ask people. And sometimes I actually play the chanting music that we've made, and that sets up the vibration just in the room. And I like to just be quiet and be kind of carried by it. And sometimes actually making the sound with your own voice, like you say, it's very focused. I mean, it completely gets rid of the other stuff which is in your mind. It's much easier than meditation, It actually kind of forces it out. So again, it's a kind of like a first aid measure, I think, kind of in these times, with like real scatteredness, checking this, checking that, screens, and this
coming into your center where you can resource. And how do you do that when there's so much distraction, as you say?
Exactly. I think like trying to find silence can sometimes just be so difficult for people, but when you make the noise yourself, you are like physically cutting through that distraction.
Exactly, you are. And sometimes also when you're making sound yourself and you get used to that sound, and maybe there's a mantra that you're using, and you're with that, and that works for you, you can also run that silently if you're not in a place where you can actually make sounds. So and I find that's been a very useful thing to remember, is part of my toolkit, really.
Yes.
You find that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do all kinds of things in my mind like that. I can run through whole practices actually in my mind without doing them.
Yes.
Yeah, because it just activates the same state.
Yeah. And that's part of the mind discipline. In fact, with part of, once you've done something physically, you've embodied it, you get the energetics along, you get them working together. Then when you run it in your mind, all those points of reference are there within you to tap into, whether or not you're doing the physical movement at all. And it's all about that sort of mental training that athletes do.
We can do it. Yes.
We can do it as energy workers as well.
Yes.
So where you place your mind is really key. And I know this is something that Stephen used to talk about as well. What you focus on grows. The energy will follow your intention. So do you see that this is a really key component of the Reiki training now, is that it's about intention training?
Yeah, I never thought of it actually. I never thought of it precisely in those terms, but I mean, I think they're indivisible, that, the chi, what is it? The chi plus yi equals she. The life energy plus the intention equals this beautiful she, this, seamless manifestation of the universe, I think is a kind of literal translation of it, just the way that it all rolls. Yes, I think intention is maybe needs to be stressed more than before. It's not just about purely kind of getting out of the way and just kind of seeing what happens in a haphazard kind of way. Yeah, I think the intention has to be there to allow it to kind of roll, and the faith, really, that when that happens, it will be good. It will be infused with love.
Yes.
There's a kind of faith involved there in that intention.
Yeah.
And this is all set up by the precepts. I think you can't. I think these get underestimated a lot. You just kind of say this little prayer before you start. But I think actually that's the container. Within which you can allow things to just kind of roll with faith. If you're not doing that, if you're not keeping the kind of ethical precepts, then you're a bit lost, really.
Okay, could you just go over those for us here on Chi Time?
Okay,
I think it seems to be calling through now. The Reiki precepts with Dr. Sarah Luczaj.
Okay, so they are referred to. I think also we said the secret medicine for inviting blessings, and it's just for today, like the AA thing. Yeah, just for today. So this is not eternal. Just try and do it for today. So do not worry. Yeah, don't get your mind in, stuck in anxious loops. Do not worry. Do not anger. Again, it's about the loop of anger rather than the kind of, flush of energy which might actually arise in a particular situation. Be humble. Humble, and this goes together with kind of appreciation and gratefulness. It's translated slightly differently by different people. But I think humble is good, particularly in our times when people are quite inflated and taking everything personally. Work, there's one about working, variously translated like work hard or work kind of properly, like right work, like the Buddhist sense of rightness, and also working according to your karma. I also read that definition in the kind of literal manual I was going back to, working according to your karma, working hard. And then finally compassion to self and others. So if you're doing things within that, you can't go wrong. But if you are having worry, anger, or whatever, and you boost that up with a little bit of, misplaced intention and chi, I don't know, you could do some damage, or it could just be ineffective,
Ineffective, yeah. So there's a responsibility here. There's a responsibility to the essence of pure truth, right action.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
This is the discipline, but it's also there's an honoring and a humbling of that connection that the Reiki has come through at the moment, but it's said to also have been the energies of the ancients. I mean, this is pure healing energy, to be respected and to be honored and not misused or misplaced. And that is so big to get our heads and hearts around that. It is really important.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And this is another thing where the kind of Reiki master kind of ego thing you were mentioning at the beginning comes in. Yeah. It's like the be humble thing. Yeah. It immediately eliminates all these kind of dangers, to do with professionalization of healing or whatever, if you stick with the right work and the being humble, then, all those dangers just kind of drop away. But without those precepts, we can get a great big ego thing going on.
Yeah. People say, like, I'm going to give you some Reiki. It's like, no, it's not. It's the antidote. It comes through you.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there anything particular that you would like to say before we close up? Is there any kind of message that you'd like to give to listeners or viewers about how to manage themselves in the world at the moment? Or
oh gosh,
just something small like that.
How to manage yourself in the world at the moment. Just keep coming back to the center. To the center and to your back, I think is Stephen is saying. Keep back. Just be aware that all of these stories and all of these fear narratives and things which are going on at the moment, they are all happening in the front, and try and stick with cause and effect. I would say, just look at what the actual causes of the things which are happening in the world at the moment are, in a very large perspective, from your back, the whole of the global and cosmic history here. and don't get too hung up on any little stories at the moment, please. And remember that the energy is everywhere.
Energy is everywhere.
All you have to do is stand back and ask, really.
Yeah, and be present and be true. Your connection to the earth and the cosmos. This is what animates us. But we do have choice. We have freedom of choice. And that's not just choice of what we're doing with our actions. It's choice of where we place our minds. Choice of when we notice old patterns are running, being kind if something's coming. There's, oh my God, I'm thinking about that again. Why have I got that? Because I've got an old pattern running, but I've noticed it now. So you can send Reiki to that. You can send Reiki to anything. It's here for us at the moment to help.
Yes. It's activating that element which is already there in everything. Yeah, there's already wisdom in that old pattern of yours. It's not like that's a bad thing that let's be nice to it, but it's really bad. It's actually not. There's it's made of the same kind of. It's made of the same chi as everything else. That's activating that element in it, I think.
And whether it's useful or not, because old patterns used to be useful, but they're not always relevant now. So it's how you unwind old ones and bring in new, more aligned practices for because we're all on this massive wake up call reset right now. And we can't plan ahead more than about a couple of days. In fact, I think we planned this interview maybe about a week or so ago, because it was like, I think we're good to go. But really it seems to be very difficult, but that is bringing us more and more into the now moment, which is the only thing that we
a massive opportunity.
But to call in what we want to happen, what we know could be possible, what we can feel in our hearts when we work to our highest potential of what could be on the planet. The potential is huge here. It's incredible. But we have to do this together as individuals, but as collaborative, unified families and friendships and groups, however we can. And that
yes, community is very important.
So briefly, just before we finish, tell us a little bit more about your community over at Terraluma.
Terraluma, Terraluma is a healing refuge. Not so much actually a community, but kind of a place for people to come as a refuge, really, like almost as a refuge, maybe from community. A place for people to to really be in like proper conditions, close to the earth, eating the food from the earth, and in an environment that's really been kind of cleaned and run kind of intentionally. So it's for people that want to come on people that have been traumatized, people that need healing, on all levels, spiritual levels, creative kind of healing, and on the physical level as well, using plants and using the Reiki. But we're very much in the building stages at the moment. We're in the kind of fundraising and building stages of actually making accommodation for people at the moment. People can only camp.
Right. And whereabouts in the world is this, Sarah?
It's in the southeast kind of corner of Poland, in a really secluded kind of wild area.
Wow. And this is, so you run everything through this. So is it got a website? Can you give us the website
It has
address?
Indeed got a website. So that's that's Terraluma. That's TERREALUMA.com.
And is that how people can find out more about what you do as well, so they can get in touch?
Absolutely. I mean, you can subscribe to our newsletter at the bottom of any page, and we're quite regular with that, so you can keep up with new offerings and things. And it's it's the Homeland for creative regeneration, which is this other kind of process that I kind of teach and facilitate, which is a whole other story, but just quickly, it involves meditation, focusing, which is kind of getting felt senses of stuff within the body, free writing, and painting, like intuitive painting. So these are other ways to kind of just free the life force, basically. And I do all kinds of workshops, both online and in person at Terraluma. We couldn't do it this last year, obviously, for virus related reasons, but usually every year there's a kind of retreat workshop out there as well. And I do individual sessions. I do Reiki empowerments and healings, long distance at the moment, and all that info is on the Terraluma site. If you click the workshops tab at the top, that kind of leads you to the land of various
Great.
offerings, and the music tab will lead you to the chanting.
And we're going to play out with a track on UK Health Radio, and we'll put links to it on the bottom of this YouTube. But where can people find your book, the Chi book, Reiki from the Roots? So can they get hold of that?
You can buy download the ebook versions from the publisher, from Wayward Publications. That would be, I think, just waywardpublications.com. Directly, so that's nice. But the actual paperback you can get from anywhere really online that sells books. So obviously Amazon is the first port of call, but if you want to avoid Amazon, you can also Barnes and Noble, Waterstones in the UK. You can click and collect.
Great, brilliant. I'm so pleased that it's here. I'm going to recommend it to loads of people, and we could talk forever, and I'd love to continue this conversation, but on this episode of Chi Time, let's just ask you what track you've chosen to play out with on UK Health Radio and why you've chosen it, please.
Okay, so this is the connection Kotodama, Hoaze Hone, which is the third symbol in the Reiki system, which evokes a state in the person who is chanting, in which they are the earth and the sky energies are one. So when you're using this connection symbol or this connection Kotodama, you can send quote unquote the healing to other people, because basically time and space are rendered kind of irrelevant. But it's the connection state. So beautiful. This is me chanting that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being part of Chi Time, Sarah Luczaj.
Thank you, Clara. It's been a pleasure.
You're so welcome. Go well, my friends.
You too.
And thank you all so much for watching or listening. Really great to have you along here. Next Chi Time will be with Dr. Pedram Shojay from America. He's the guy that's brought through the recent Exhausted series. I don't know if you caught that, Sarah, but it's pretty amazing. He does Qigong. You can see the thread here. So I'm going to chat to him about Qigong as well, or healing ways that we can be. And his new book out is called Focus. So he's all over that. We're going to carry on really beautifully from the things that we've been talking about. So I've got to do the subscribe thing if you haven't already, and then you'll know when it's coming up. But that should be next Monday at about 4 p.m. We've got to work out the timings because of don't go to that. But good. Really beautiful to have you on the show. I know Stephen will be like, yay, up in wherever he is, doing his little jive, wriggling around, going, there's my girls doing their thing, hanging out, getting the chi out there. And it was lovely to meet you. I mean, we met each other at his memorial. We'd known about each other before, hadn't we? But we were able to have a hug then.
Funny old place to meet, but
oh, bless you, sweetheart.
Great to talk to you.
Yeah, you as well. Okay, much love, and bye for now.
I love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Keep your chi up.